good morning. By the way, my name is Valdymir Ladigohon. I am a group of Rafaela. For this morning, I will discuss to you our research title. The title is The Effects of Unemployment Rate Among Vendors in Barangay Baclaran, Basis for LGU Livelihood Program. Okay, proceed to the chapter 1. Here the chapter 1. Chapter 1 included the problem and its background. Okay. Proceed to the breakdown of study. Background of study, they have a 5 bullets. Unemployment is one of the problems that many people face and it brought different effects their physical or mental. Therefore, the public should be aware about this. An article from EconSleep 2014, Weebly.com state that unemployment in the Philippines is attributed to reasons including the overpopulations, oversupplies of labor, force on certain industries, and the inability to take available jobs. A study of Field 2014 stated that poverty of lack of useful employment in the rural areas and the smaller towns drive large number of people to the cities for their employment. In order to survive in a competitive world, those who are employed chooses to make their own employment and one of the means of for their livelihoods in a sidewalk vending. Lastly, the unemployment person to experience anxiety, disorganizations, depressions, shame, humiliation, decreations, loss of self-worth is that uncommon. But we are more studied in that these feelings often lead to increased drinking, wife, and child abuse and crime and suicide. Okay, proceed to the problem statement. This is important to know, everyone. This study aims to determine the effects of unemployment rate among vendors in Barangay Baclaran. Okay, this is our research question. This is our guide to formal interview. Number one, what is the demographic profile of the respondents according to age, sex, or male or female, or LGBT part or LGBT part. Number three, educational attainment, economic status, and what are the causes of unemployment in Barangay Baclaran? What are the livelihood program that LGU of Barangay Baclaran will recommend in order to help vendors? Okay, null hypothesis. They have 3 bullets. Is there significant of relationship between the educational attainment to unemployment rate of vendors in Barangay Baclaran? What are the effects of unemployment to the lives of vendor in Barangay Baclaran? Will the progress recommended by the LGU helps to lessen unemployment in the Barangay Baclaran? Significance of this study. This will be conducted in order to know the effects of unemployment rates in the lives of people, particularly to the vendors. The findings of this study can contribute to the society since unemployment is one of the problems that every people face nowadays. This study will be beneficially to the following. They have 3. Number 1, vendors of Barangay Baclaran. Future researches of many schools. Yeah. Scope and limitations. They have 3. This study will focus on the assessments of the effects of unemployment rate in vendors in Barangay Baclaran, as well as livelihood program that LGU recommend for fiscal year 2020-2021. The time coverage was limited to the school year 2020-2021. The result of the study could be valid only in the area where the study was conducted. Okay, proceed to the chapter 2. The chapter 2 study review of related literatures, which is the RRL, short, included the synthesis. Both and local foreign related literature presented in the chapter were very relevant in this present study. Several studies say that one of the reasons why unemployment in the Philippines occurs is because of the overpopulations, the dangers that some one of the vendors were facing in their everyday life while selling in the sidewalk. Some studies states the reason why people engage in sidewalk vending, especially to have source of income, self-dependence, lack of employment opportunities, assisting to the managed household expenditure and alcohol and old husband of father, and also the effects of unemployment which leads to those unemployment to make a living by being a sidewalk vendor.
Chapter 3 Research Methodology Research Design Descriptive research design will be employed in this study. The emphasis is to describe the effects of unemployment rate to the vendors of Barangay Baclaran. In this study, the needed data is descriptive research design, particularly the use of survey. All gathered information and data will be taken in Barangay Baclaran and from the respondents. Location of the study. The study will take place in the sidewalk of Baclaran. Formerly split as Baclaran, is a barangay located in northern area of the city of Parañaque, Metro Manila, Philippines. It is also known to be located at the borders of cities of Parañaque and Pasay. Population. The population of this study will be the vendors of Barangay Baclaran. Furthermore, only those sidewalk vendors and officials who are residents of Barangay Baclaran will be the participants of this study. Sample and sampling design. The researchers will use purposive sampling method. In this method, the researchers will rely on their own judgment when choosing members of population to participate in the study. The respondent will be the vendors of Barangay Baclaran. A test questionnaire will be provided by the researchers and the result of the questionnaire will be gathered and analyzed carefully. Instrumentation. The researchers construct their own questionnaire to gather the relevant information from the respondent about the effects of unemployment rate, as well as the interview that will take in a barangay hall of Baclaran. The questionnaires contain statements about the personal information of the respondents, such as their gender, age, civil status, and their educational attainment. Putting their names is optional. The questionnaire includes the questions regarding the effects of unemployment rate. Data gathering. The researchers construct their own questionnaire about the effects of unemployment rate. After constructing the questionnaire, the researchers will seek the approval of the research advisor. After the approval, the researchers will orient the respondents on the purpose of the study and will instruct them how to accomplish the test. Lastly, the researchers will proceed to the distribution of the questionnaires. Statistical treatment. The study will use frequency and percentage. The information gathered will be tabulated and with the aid of statistical tools to determine the precise interpretation of the result. Frequency and percentage. Used to determine the percentage usually for data on profile. P equals F over N times 100%.
Chapter 4. Presentation, Analysis, and Interpretation of Data. This chapter is the presentation of the data we collected which have been organized in a tabular form. The first 5 questions is about the demographic profile of the respondents followed by the questionnaire. Starting from, ilang taon ka na? Table 1.A shows that out of 50 respondents, 54% of them were engaged in sidewalk vending which age from 18 to 40 years old. Number 2 is ano ang iyong kasarian? Table 1.1A shows that both male and female have 50% which gives us an equal number in the participants in the study, which means that both male and female were engaged in sidewalk vending. Number 3, ano ang iyong natapos? Table 1.2A shows that out of 50 respondents, 74% of them were high school graduate or finished their secondary level. Number 4, ano ang estado mo sa buhay? Table 1.3A shows that out of 50 respondents, 64% of them comes from the middle class. Number 5, ano ang iyong katayuang sibil? Table 1.4A shows that out of 50 respondents who participated in the study, 52% of them were single. Questionnaire. Number 6, magkano ang iyong kinikita sa araw-araw na pagtitinda? Table 1.5A shows the profits of the vendors and out of 50 respondents, 52% of them earns 400 to 500 and above a day. Number 7. Sapat ba ang iyong kinikita sa pagtitinda? Table 1.6a shows that out of 50 respondents, 62% of them says that their profit in selling is not enough. Number 8. Nawalan ka ba ng trabaho dahil sa pandemya? Now, Table 1.7a shows that out of 50 respondents, most of them were affected and unemployed because of the pandemic, which gives us 68% of them. Number 9, gaano katagal ka ng sidewalk vendor? Table 1.a shows that out of 50 respondents, most of them were sidewalk vendor for 1 year and above, which gives us 84%. Number 10, naapektuhan ba ang paghahanap mo ng trabaho dahil sa kursong iyong natapos? Table 1.9a shows that out of 50 respondents, 54% of them says that educational attainment affects them for seeking jobs in order to have a stable income. Number 11, malakas pa ba ang iyong kinikita ngayong may pandemya? Table 2.1a shows that most of the respondents says that their sale was not enough because of the pandemic, which gives us 86% of them. Number 12, dahil sa kawalan ng trabaho, nakaranas ka ba ng Table 2.2a shows that being unemployed really affects the mental health of the respondents because 48% of them says that they have experienced depression because of unemployment. Number 13, sinubukan mo bang maghanap ng ibang trabaho bukod sa pagiging sidewalk vendor? Table 2.3a shows that from the total of 50 respondents, 54% of them says that they didn't seek job, which means that sidewalk vending is their permanent job. Number 14, ano ang naging dahilan kung bakit mo napili ang pagtitinda sa sidewalk? Table 2.4a shows that the sidewalk vendors really have the reason why they choose that job because 40% of them says that they choose sidewalk vending for their financial in order to support their families. Number 15, magkano ang ginagastos nyo sa pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan? Table 2.3a shows that in terms of spending money, 48% of the respondents spends 40 to 600 pesos daily to sustain their needs. Number 16, sa pamamagitan ng pagtitinda, nasusuportahan ba nito ang mga gastusin ng inyong pamilya? Table 2.4a shows that out of 50 respondents, 66% of them says that it can still support their family to sustain their everyday basic needs. Number 17, nakapag-ipon ka ba sa pamamagitan ng pagtitinda? Table 2.5a shows that out of 50 respondents, 52% of them says that they can manage to save and keep some money. Number 18, magkano ang iyong naging puhunan? Table 2.6a shows that from the total of 50 respondents, 80% of them says that their capital range from 700 and above to start their business. Number 19, nangangamba ka ba sa mga peligro na maaari mong maranasan habang nagtitinda sa sidewalk? Table 2.7a shows that from the total of 50 respondents, 82% of them says that they worried about their safety while they are selling in sidewalks. Number 20, dahil sa kawalan ng trabaho, naranasan mo bang mabaon sa utang? Table 2.8a shows that because of the lack of stable job, 64% of the respondents experience being buried in debt. Number 21, paano ka naapektuhan ng kawalan ng trabaho lalo na ngayong may pandemya? Table 2.9 shows that the effects of unemployment through the lives of sidewalk vendors in Baclaran were brought by the pandemic. They say that because of the pandemic, they were not able to sustain their everyday needs, and they also doesn't have the capacity to buy things they want since they doesn't have enough money. Number 22. Malaki ba ang naging epekto ng kawalan mo ng trabaho sa iyong pamilya? Table 3.1a shows that being unemployed had a great impact on one's family because out of 50 respondents, 90% of them says that being unemployed does affect their family. Number 23. Balak mo pa bang maghanap ng ibang negosyo o papalaguin na lang ang negosyo mo ngayon? Table 3.2a shows that out of 50 respondents, 76% of them says that they were just going to grow their business, which is the sidewalk vending. 24. Bago maging sidewalk vendor, mayroon ka bang full-time job noon? Table 3.3a shows that from the total of 50 respondents, 68% of them doesn't have full-time job before becoming sidewalk vendor, which indicates that sidewalk vending is their permanent job or full-time job. Number 25. Ngayong may pandemya, nakatanggap ka ba ng tulong pinansyal mula sa local government ng Baclaran? Table 3.4a shows that from the total of 50 respondents, 50% of them receives financial support from the local government of Baclaran, while the other 50% states that they doesn't receive any financial support from the local government. Number 26. Naranasan mo bang mag-apply ng trabaho ngunit hindi ka natanggap dahil sa kakulangan ng experience? Table 3.5a shows that from the total of 50 respondents, 54% of them says that they did not try to seek any job. Number 27. Nakaranas ka ba ng diskriminasyon dahil sa iyong trabaho? Table 3.6a shows that out of 50 respondents, 56% of them says that they did not experience discrimination in their field of work. Number 28, nakakaubos ka ba ng paninda sa isang araw? Table 3.7a shows that from the total of 50 respondents, 90% of them says that they didn't manage to sold all of their products in just one day. Number 29, kailan malakas ang iyong benta? Table 3.1a shows that the peak time of the business of sidewalk vendors in Barangay Baclaran is every noon, which gives us 34% out of 50 respondents. Dahil sa pandemya, naranasan mo ba hindi makabenta? Table 3.9 shows that because of the pandemic, 84% of the respondents experienced not to sell any single piece of their product since there are no customers.
Chapter 5. Summary of findings, conclusions, and recommendation. This chapter presents the summary of findings, conclusions, and recommendations made by this study with regards to the effects of unemployment rate among vendors of Barangay Baclaran. Summary of findings. Based on the data presented in the previous chapter, the following are hereby summarized. Number 1. What is the demographic profile of the respondents according to age? In terms of age, findings reveal that out of 50 respondents, most of them ages from 80 to 40 years old, and sex. In terms of gender, findings reveal that there is an equal number in the participation of the study. Half of the respondents are female as well as male. Educational attainment. In terms of educational attainment, findings reveal that most of the respondents graduated in their secondary level. And economic status, findings reveal that out of 50 respondents, most of them are in the middle class. Number 2. What are the causes of unemployment in Barangay Baclaran? Findings reveal that one of the causes of unemployment rate among vendors in Barangay Baclaran is the pandemic. Number 3. What are the livelihood programs that LGU of Barangay Baclaran will recommend in order to help unemployment vendor? Based on the interview conducted with the Secretary Boyet Rivera of Barangay Baclaran, the officials of Barangay Baclaran, together with the barangay captain, Jun Saide, comes up with the idea of helping the vendors by giving them a particular place where everyone can sell, but they should remain to follow safety protocols like social distancing, wearing face masks, and shield. Another thing is the online page they created exclusively for the vendors, which is the Taga Baclaran Ako. Vendors can do online selling by posting their products, and it can reach many people, particularly those who are residents of Barangay Baclaran. In that way, the vendors could have some income even if it's not that big. Lastly, barangay officials checks the 6 areas of their barangay, and they would pick those who doesn't have money and give them a temporary work, which is being a street sweeper. In that way, they would be able to sustain their basic needs. Number 4, is there a significant relationship between the educational attainment to unemployment rate of the vendors in Barangay Baclaran? Findings reveal that educational attainment is statistically significant to the unemployment rate. Number 5. What are the effects of unemployment rate to the lives of vendors in Barangay Baclaran? Based on the findings of this research, there are several effects of unemployment to the lives of the vendor in Barangay Baclaran, starting from most of the respondents suffered from depression. Most of them worries about their safety since it's dangerous selling in sidewalks. Some of them experience being buried in debt because of being unemployment, while the others doesn't have the capacity to sustain their daily needs as well as to buy the things they want. The last thing is that being unemployment have a great impact to their families. Number 6. Will the programs recommended by the LGU helps to lessen unemployment rate in the Barangay Baclaran? Based on the interview, the captain, secretary, and officials of Barangay Baclaran said that the programs they created would be a great help for the vendors. It can also lessen the unemployment in their barangay, since they manage to give work to those who are unemployed. Conclusions. Built around the significant findings of the study, the researchers draw the following conclusions. Number 1. In terms of educational attainment, most of the respondents finished their secondary level. Most of them ages from 18 to 40 years old and comes from the middle class. B. The evidence is sufficient to conclude that unemployment rate had a great impact on the vendors, not only physically but also emotionally. C. The main cause of the unemployment of the vendors in Barangay Baclaran is because of the pandemic. D. Programs that was made by the officials of Barangay Baclaran would be a great help to the vendors because aside from it can help them to their financial needs, unemployment rate in Barangay Baclaran would be lessened. Letter E. There is a significant relationship between educational attainment and unemployment. Recommendations. Based on the findings and conclusions presented, the following recommendations are suggested. Number 1. The researchers recommend that undergraduates should be also given the opportunity to prove what they can do because after all, it's the skill that matters. Another thing is that there are degree holders who doesn't have the ability or exceptional skills, and there are undergraduates who doesn't give the chance to finish their studies but reserves a great talent and exceptional skills. Number 2, the researchers recommend that in terms of creating programs to help the vendors, the officials should make sure that there's no one left behind, since the program they're created manage to help those vendors who are in need. The researchers expect that in the near future, the officials will make tons of programs so that unemployment rate would totally vanish to their place. Number 3, since the research is about the unemployment rate among vendors only, the researchers recommends that further study should focus to the unemployment rate among all kinds of work. This study can be recommended to the future researchers to serve as their reference regarding the unemployment rates of vendor. We advise them to conduct this research study with a much wider audience so they can collect more data and conclude with more accurate results.